All right, today we're going to unpack a source called The Story of Reconciliation. And it puts forward a pretty huge idea that there's a single master script that can help us make sense of our lives, our world, and our place in the entire universe. So let's dive in and see what that's all about. So let's just kick things off with a question, straight to you. What script are you following in your own life? We all have one, right? Whether we're conscious of it or not, there's some kind of story that shapes our choices, our values, our sense of purpose. The real question is, what is that story for you? Well, the source we're exploring today has a pretty powerful answer to that. It suggests there is one ultimate script for everything, and it calls it the kingdom narrative. And this isn't presented as just another myth or a nice story. It's framed as the fundamental reality for, well, everything. So, what is this kingdom narrative exactly? Think of it as the biggest, most epic drama you can imagine, and it all unfolds in three distinct acts. First, there's creation, this perfect beginning. Then comes the fall, a truly catastrophic break. And finally, new creation, the ultimate restoration. Let's walk through this cosmic play, act by act.
Okay, let's jump into Act 1, Creation. The source describes this as way more than just a physical event. It was all about laying out this original blueprint for the entire universe, a blueprint built on one core principle: perfect interwoven harmony.
And this harmony, this whole structure, was built on a threefold relationship. And the source is super clear about this. That connection between God and humanity, that's the cornerstone. It's the linchpin. As long as that foundational relationship is solid, everything else just naturally stays in alignment. And get this, within this perfect blueprint, humanity had this unique and frankly royal role. We weren't just hanging around. The source uses this fascinating term, viceregents, which basically means we were appointed as royal representatives given this incredible job of governing and cultivating the world on God's behalf. And this leads to a really critical point the source makes. This perfect blueprint was always, from the very beginning, centered on Christ. He wasn't some plan B that showed up later to fix a problem. From day one, he was the one in whom, as the text says, all things hold together.
Which brings us, and this is a tragic part, to Act 2, the fall. And look, the source is really insistent on this point. This wasn't just some small mistake or a minor oopsie. This was a comprehensive collapse, a rupture in the very fabric of reality that sent shockwaves through everything. So what went so wrong? Well, it wasn't about a piece of fruit. The source says the real issue, the deep-down root cause, was the desire to define good and evil by themselves, to become their own masters. It was this deep-seated rebellion, an attempt to unplug from the very source of life itself.
And remember how we said that God-human relationship was the cornerstone? Well, the second it shattered, it triggered this absolutely devastating domino effect. The failure of that one single, foundational connection immediately sent the other two relationships tumbling down in a chain reaction. And you can see just how stark that collapse was. Where there was unity and trust between God and humanity, suddenly there is shame and blame. Where there was love and cooperation between people, it twisted into conflict and violence. And our role as faithful stewards, it warped into exploitation and abuse. A total reversal. And the consequences weren't just spiritual or relational. The source brings in this really powerful idea from physics, entropy. Basically, the fall flipped a switch, introducing a fundamental law of decay and disorder into the whole system. The entire created order was now on this continuous downward slide toward chaos, decay, and death. But, and this is so important, the story doesn't end in chaos. That brings us to the hopeful final act. Act 3, Redemption. The great restoration. And here's a key distinction the source makes. This isn't about just patching things up or going back to the way things were. No, this is a total upgrade to a new creation. And what's just incredible is how quickly this plan for restoration kicked off. It starts with this gentle, gracious question right there in the garden. Where are you? Then you get this tiny glimmer of a promise of victory. It all builds to that pivotal moment on the cross where Christ reverses the failure. And it all points toward this ultimate vision of a new heaven and a new earth. And the scale of this whole thing? It's cosmic. This isn't just about saving me or you as individuals. The goal is to reconcile to himself all things. That means every broken relationship, every fragmented piece of creation, every single bit is part of this grand restoration project. Okay, so That's the big, grand, cosmic story. It's awesome, but what about us? Where do we fit in today? This is where the source gets super practical, and it introduces this framework for how we can participate, called the threefold vision. This is really where the rubber meets the road. It all comes together here. Each of those broken relationships we talked about is now connected to a specific restorative action. So, for that broken God-human link, the action is evangelization. For the rifts between people, it's kingdomization, building communities of reconciliation. And to restore our relationship with the world around us, it's Christianization, infusing our culture with beauty, justice, and order. Now, I know what you might be thinking. This sounds like a lot, a huge to-do list. But the source is really careful to say that's not the point. This isn't a set of heavy burdens to earn God's favor. Instead, these actions are meant to be the natural, spontaneous outflow of a heart that's been truly transformed by living inside this incredible story.
So what this really means is that your call isn't to go find some brand new, spectacular mission. It's actually simpler and way more profound. The call is to be an ambassador of restoration right where you are, in your family, in your job, in your neighborhood. Those are the places where this work of new creation happens.
So, we've gone on this huge journey, right? From the perfect blueprint, through that devastating collapse, and now into the great restoration. And now, the pen is handed to you. The story continues, and you're invited to find your place in it and to actively write your own chapter. And as you think about what that means, the source leaves us with this incredible, rock-solid assurance. The entire story, from beginning to end, is held together by a love that is absolutely unbreakable. Nothing can sever that connection, and that's the ultimate power behind all of this restoration. So we end right back where we started, but now, hopefully, with a totally new perspective. The grand script has been laid out. You're not just some random actor in a play with no point. You have a vital role in the greatest story ever told. So, the final question is for you. Knowing your place in this incredible cosmic story, how are you going to write your chapter?